Familia, this week we're going to be controversial. Are you ready, Claire?
I'm ready.
So, we're going to talk about Emilia Perez. It's the super controversial movie that probably you heard of, but we're going to go a bit deeper.
Hey Enzo. Oh, this is probably too long for a voice note.
Hey Claire, I know. Save it for the podcast.
Your space for an unfiltered and candid conversation.
Skip the small talk and dive in deep.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Welcome, Familia, to the fourth episode of this new season
Here
of
we
Too
are
Long for a Voice
going
Note, your
on
favorite podcast in the whole world. I'm
How
like
are
a
you
politician.
doing? Exactly.
Okay, I'm so excited today.
I know.
Filming the episode, it feels so nice. I think it kind of like give a boost for this time of the year. That
I
it can
really
be.
like this jumper. It's giving very
Thank you.
Valentine's Day, February.
Ooh, true. Maybe I wasn't.
kind of like cozy.
I got this on weekend.
Weekend.
Yeah, weekend. The brand.
Weekday?
A weekday. The weekday. Weekend. Weekday. The brand. Yeah, weekday. What is a weekend? Weekday.
Weekday.
So yeah, I got this weekday,
I love
which is a really
Weekday.
cool brand. Do you have
I
any
love
brand that you are loving lately? That you are like, ooh, I like this
I
brand.
really love.
I don't know, only clothing, not any brand.
Yeah, I really love Weekend, also known as
Weekend,
I really,
also
really
known,
I really like
AKA.
Weekday, and I really like. What other brands do I really like?
About anything, to be honest.
Lots
Something
of
you're
Korean skincare brands I
Yeah,
really like.
yeah.
Also, do you know what's weirdly impressing me at the moment? Branding is Garnier.
Oh,
So
really?
Garnier is actually, obviously,
yeah.
everyone knows Garnier. They're actually owned by L'Oreal. I didn't think that their products would be vegan and cruelty free, but I got gifted by my friend. Hi, Emma. She works at L'Oreal. Some
Cute.
curly hair products. Garnier.
Beautiful.
All vegan, cruelty free. Very impressive.
I think they're stepping up, right?
They are. I think they've had like a real brand shift.
Yeah.
And then I realised I actually do have another really great, really affordable hair mask from Garnier. And I was like, oh, it's from Garnier. I was like, I didn't know it was Garnier.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, it's like a papaya
yeah.
one.
Oh,
Good for the
interesting.
curly girls if you're watching. Curly girls and curly boys as well.
Yeah. Well, worth the little promotion, but you can follow Claire on her channel, Beauty Unfiltered, for more tips of beauty.
Thank you for the little plug.
With a
If
plug.
you're a beauty enthusiast, then follow me over there because I talk about everything to do with beauty. So.
Beautiful channel. I
What about
recommend.
you? You love a lot of like ordinary products.
I love the ordinary. I love Horace as well, which is a French
Horace.
brand. Horace. I don't know how it
Horace.
is. Sorry. A French speaking community.
Yeah.
Correct me. I really like the brand. It's really. I like it because it's so like clean and obviously cruelty free, and it's very
Yeah.
like natural. So I really love that brand. Speaking of L'Oreal, just a little quick thing. You know, like I think it makes sense that they're changing like the things they do, or
Yeah.
like they're changing their maybe values or whatever you're gonna call it, because Jacquemus now is part of L'Oreal. Do you know that?
Really?
He sang like a deal like last week or something.
As in for like all of the
I think they're gonna do
fashion
like
or
I think it's
beauty?
gonna do
They're
beauty. So I think Jacquemus is gonna do the beauty.
Jacquemus
Jacquemus, we
Beauty.
love Jacquemus.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's really a strong brand.
yeah,
Of course,
so
I can't
L'Oreal.
say that I love that brand because I've never
Yeah.
bought anything from Jacquemus.
Yeah,
but one day.
we love, you know, like I think Jacquemus, we all love the social media. They do
Yeah.
amazing, beautiful things. Quality of stuff, who knows? We thought
Yeah,
probably it's
exactly.
good.
Yeah, exactly. We're not sure because we've never. I don't believe I've ever like touched something from Jacquemus either. One day.
We're getting there, you know, like we're getting there.
Exactly.
Jacquemus. But anyway, this is my week, so I need to bring a topic here. I hope we have enough time to talk about all the different ramifications of this topic. I think it's a bit of a dense topic, so I hope everyone is prepared.
Okay,
I
dense.
come in hot
Okay.
with this. So anyway, I want to talk first. I think we all know, if you don't know, there's like the most popular movie this year is Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
Which is like a really controversial film. Is the most nominated film of the season.
Yeah, on
You
the
haven't
Oscar.
you haven't seen
I haven't
it, right?
seen it. No, I have not.
I
seen
saw it. I have thoughts about it, but I don't really want to go into like it's a good film, it's a bad film, blah blah blah.
So if
I
the
don't
audience
really-
haven't seen it, it's fine.
yeah,
basically.
exactly.
So if you haven't seen it, stick around.
Stick around because it's not about the quality of the movie itself, but it's things that has happened around it. And I think I want to talk about the big controversy that it's around with the main character of the movie, which is a woman, and the director of the movie, which is a man, and kind of tied up things about like how we treat women and men when they do something wrong. I want to talk about like
that.
where do we help women and men when they did something wrong, basically.
That's an interesting topic.
And,
Very,
you know,
very, very
I think I want to dive in deep.
Dive in deep
here. If you don't know anything about the drama, I don't know if you had a bit.
I do. I know about the drama.
You haven't watched the movie, but you kind of keep up.
The understanding I have is that the lead actress is trans actress.
Sofia Gascon.
Yes, she's Spanish.
She's
right?
Spanish, yeah.
And the film is about Mexico.
Yeah.
It's a Mexican story. The director, who's a man, is French.
Yeah.
And I heard that he was very dismissive about Mexico, and he said, like, I don't really give a shit about, like, I didn't do a lot of research about the fact. I think
one part of it,
I believe
definitely.
that there also weren't a lot of Mexican or any Mexican actors involved in the project. And then I also understand that some very racist, Islamophobic, right? Tweets
One
were
of the things,
undiscovered or something like that. And that's basically the extent of what I know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I think the whole drama started because the actress, which is Sofia Gascon, it was discovered like a series of tweets. It's like she had lots of tweets for different years. They're kind of recent, to be honest, about like really like maybe, well, not maybe, really like there can be really like controversial, Islamophobic, very like xenophobic tweets, remarks, etc. So all this information came up to the surface.
Okay.
And then like a cancellation started around her, right?
Yeah.
The problem here is, I think, and what's something that I'm realizing, and I think that's something I saw on the internet, like starting a new conversation, is like how fast we go and how fast we cancel when it's a woman the center of an issue. When a man is a case of a man, it's never like that. Some examples of this is like, obviously, I have to say,
and so it's like, I'm going to back this up
back
with
this
facts. I have to say
Honestly.
that I know that this has been bothering you quite a lot, because you've mentioned this to me, not specifically around Emilia Perez, but about other examples which you may or may not bring up that I know it's been bothering you for a while.
I think it's a lot because I feel like that's internet is going in a way like it's so, especially in this day and age where we are now with everything that's happening in America with Trump and like people are back in this space of feeling like they can just cancel people. They can be really xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, and all of that. I think people are jumping even easier now because they feel more validated to do it.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Just to start, okay, I have to say, like, I think she was really wrong. She doesn't seem to be a good person. She seems to, I think she said things that were really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
But I think there's something about like how women are always being attacked so easily and canceled and not given maybe the space to apologize or the space to like the doubt or like why you say that or what happened to you. And I wanted to start this asking you, have you felt that as a woman in your life, that you need to always walk almost in like a straight line, because if you go one side or another, you're going to be pointed out, attacked, or like judged in a different way than a man?
Yeah, I would say so. I definitely think that's true. And I'm going to say something potentially quite controversial.
Go for it. We want controversial.
I felt that more
Was it with you?
than, no, you were like, put that figure away. No, I felt that more from other women than I ever have from men. I have felt so much more judged and like I need to walk and I'm on eggshells or whatever from other women than other men. And that's the truth. That's my experience, not speaking for any other women, but that, and I also feel like you have to be I feel that I have always had to give a lot more at work than really like mediocre male colleagues who, I mean, I think everything kind of like gets evened out at the end of the day. I believe that. And I do think like if you just kind of keep your head down and work hard, like you will get to where you want to go. But I do think that, you know, there's not going into like the whole work conversation too much, but I think, yeah, that's where I felt it. I think judgment from other women, and I think at work, I've definitely felt that.
She apologized on CNN. Sophia.
Yeah.
Her apologize was not the best. I have to say she handled it in a worse way. I think she never truly apologized. She felt really attacked, and her words were not the best, I have to say.
What did she say?
You can tell like she said, actually I have a quote. She said like, I have been judged, condemned, sacrificed, crucified, and stoned without a trial and without the option to defend myself. That's how she felt. Which in a way I feel like, again, everyone jumped to attack her without giving even a second of like defense. I have to say the things she said that were really difficult to defend, but it didn't help the approach. As a contraposition, the director of the movie, which is Jacques Audiard, sorry, like I would say in English, I guess, Jacques Audiard, he's been saying so many things about the Spanish language, the Latin community, and
Mexico,
even Mexico, and no one is canceling him. So basically, he said in an interview that he chose like to do a movie in Spanish and not English, because Spanish is like it's a language for the non-dominant countries, whether economically, politically, or socially, and Spanish language represent struggle and communities in a struggle. So that's kind of like very patronizing.
Yeah,
he basically say, I'm going to do a movie in Spanish because I want to give a bit of power to these people that are a bit
poor them, they need help, which is so patronizing considering like how successful the Mexican film industry is, for example,
and
in
have
TV.
facts about that as well. But anyway, that's one part of the conversation. Like, what do you think about like this approach from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he sounds like a bit of a wanker, to put it simply, to be honest. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't understand why he chose to make this film. Like, because he doesn't seem to care at all about, I don't know the story. I know very vaguely what the story is about, but he doesn't seem to care about Mexico. He doesn't seem to really care about like Spanish or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe he just thought it was a good story and like he got handed it or whatever. I don't know if you want to kind of go into that, but I do think that we need to kind of address the fact that she is trans. I think that adds an interesting layer to this whole topic. But I think like, I think you're so right. And I hadn't really thought about that fully, because I think obviously all of the focus is like, isn't she awful? And like, aren't these tweets horrible? Of course.
Which I think she is. I think she seems to be.
There seems to be like undeniable evidence as well, that those tweets were found and they were there, and that's that, and they were posted. I think I heard somewhere that she was denying some of them, which is quite shady. I mean, I think you can't take it out of like, you know, people can fabricate things. You know, we live in this world now where like so many things can, and maybe she was like, she says like a scapegoat, and she
says things that she said were taken out of context for her.
Which
is an excuse, but okay.
I think we probably like won't read any of the tweets, but of course it's sort of hard to know. But anyway, I think the question is more about like how men and women are kind of kind of served up in general differently, and it does seem like he's not really kind of suffering from any of the things that he's saying.
Canceling him. No one is saying like, we're gonna cancel you as a best director nominations. Everyone is saying like, when they're gonna remove her from the nomination from a best actress.
Totally.
Like all the shame is like shift towards her. And I think the fact that you say she's trans, that add a layer there of like an easy target to like, oh, you see a trans person being this way. Like, unfortunately, it's really sad, because I feel it's a really, really good opportunity to represent like the first trans women nominated for the Oscars for the best actress. It's like, wow, it's major. It's a shame that she's turned out to be this person apparently, but the fact that the director is this person and no one is saying anything or doing anything, I find that really bad. Going back to the Super Bowl, which we mentioned like last week. Kanye West, we know all Kanye West is like, he always says whatever he wants to say, he goes away with. The week before the Super Bowl, he did tweet saying like he's a Nazi. He said like he thought like
Kendrick.
Kanye West.
About
Kanye
himself.
West. About himself.
Oh.
He said like, I'm a Nazi.
Oh.
And then another tweet he said like, I think Hitler was a fresh guy, so it was cool.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
On the Super Bowl, there was an ad of Yeezy, like his Yeezy, his brand, right?
Yeah.
When the ad finished, there's a QR code. When you scan the QR code, you go exactly direct to the website, right? The website, when you open the website, it was like a Nazi T-shirt, but swastika. Swastika, you saying? Like a swastika, and you can purchase the T-shirt on his website, and that was on the Super Bowl. Okay, no one seems to be canceling for sure. This is first, that's like illegal to do something like that. You shouldn't be illegal to have like it's like the most hateful message you can put out there. One of those. and no one is doing anything. No one is really canceling Kanye West.
They have like a criminal in the White House. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we just can't, like, it's just like, it's not like that anymore. It's really wrong, but it's not even shocking that Kanye can do that when they've literally got like a convicted rapist and convict being the president, you know? So it's literally like the Wild West, basically. Yeah.
And again, it's a man.
Imagine if that had been Kamala. Like, and she had that. I mean, yeah, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I think it permeates so deeply in society. And I think that's something that you can see, like, literally from the very top down to kind of like, you know, where we are, basically.
Yeah. And I think what adds more that is shocking to me is how people join so easily these narratives, and like they add more and more and more. And kind of like, instead of like breaking it, which I know there are people like they do it, a lot of people are just adding in and just jumping into the hate, because I feel it's that whole narrative. Like, I think women are easier target than men.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. Like, I think that definitely women, and I think that's why definitely, like, feel free to kind of tell me a comment and tell me if you think I'm wrong, but this is in my experience. I think that's why sometimes women can go for other women, because it's easier to go for the woman than to go for the man. I strongly think that. And that's, it's not even other women's fault. It's just ingrained sexism. And it's not just the men, it's the other women that are doing it, because we're also taught to compete for different things, because we have this like scarcity mindset of like, no, you need to like step on each other at work, you need to like fight for male attention and all of that bullshit, you know. One thing I was going to say is like a little, like another example I have of this is like, I know you said that you've got some other examples of like women kind of like, you know, being like dragged down. I'd love to hear of like who they are, but someone that sprung to mind was, we were speaking about this earlier, is Chiara. So she, you know, she's an Italian influencer. She was married to Fedez, and I really hated, like, just to give anybody background who doesn't know what happened with her, just in a really quick nutshell. Obviously, they've had like marital drama, which is a whole other thing. But she actually was like in court last year because she was selling like Italian Easter cake, and I think the whole thing was that like €1 million was going to go to charity. And she's somebody who's done a lot of, you know, obviously she's super wealthy. She's done a lot of charitable work. So in the pandemic, her and Fedez actually like gave money, and they built like a hospital in Milan. So she was saying like, if you get this very expensive Easter cake that would normally be like super cheap, then part of the proceeds go to charity. And she did fuck up, and she had to pay a fine. Like the money basically, like, I think that there was like a certain amount of donation that was given, but people were saying like, you know, she was misleading people, and it did, she was wrong, and it went to court. And she did what I thought was like quite a genuine apology. She paid the fine, which was like €1 million. But the way that people dragged that woman down was really sickening, because for me, I felt like she said, I made a mistake. She did say like it was a communication error. Obviously lots of bad business there, but it's just like, I just feel like with women, like, do you not feel like there's no space, and even if you try to make amends, you're fucked anyway, because people are still going on about that, even though she's done all the right things. And okay, she might not always move correctly, but I just think it's like, women never get a break. And then you can never seem to kind of you can never like move forward from that. You're always going to be tainted by that.
And I think like one like really like negative trait in society that we have, and it's tied to that, is like, first, we expect women to never fail as a mother, as a wife, as a professional, when they can be professional, because they can always be professional in this world. Sometimes they're not allowed to be, depending on some countries. Anything, they have to always be right. Well, when a man does something wrong, we will say, it's a man.
Yeah, totally.
It's a man. What can you expect as a man? So it's kind of like, what can you expect? But also it's allowing it. It's kind of so ingrained on who we are and how we are society, that we always kind of and we expect men to do wrong. So that's why kind of like, well, it's just a man. But when it's a woman, it's like held to like this incredible standard of like, from beauty to like care to like,
that's interesting,
everything, that it's impossible to do wrong. And that's like a lot of pressure, and I feel like that's horrible. And like,
Do you think it's like what you said about like if it's just a man, like you know that's kind of the reason that we give, but do you think we've had more time to like, because men have always been the dominant ones in society, right? So it's sort of like, well, if a man cheats, well, that's because a man has a higher sex drive or something like that.
That's
but if a woman cheats, what
she's
the
a whore.
fuck? Because she's a whore, because she's a mother, and how can you leave your children, or how could you? Because I think we haven't given that space of like, well,
100%.
they're women and they're men, and presumably we all have a crossover of emotions and different things, right?
I agree. It's kind of like putting the two genders in like in a separate things and being like, oh, they cannot cross over. Well, we are more similar than sometimes society say. Definitely. You're so right with example, bringing like more celebrity and things like that. Maybe think about Shakira, and that bit when Shakira has all this like tax evasion. She has that dip on her career. Like everyone was criticizing her. Like, oh my God, she's not paying her taxes. That's so low. That's horrible. There was a moment like everyone was against her, and people stopped being against her when the ex-husband cheated on her.
Yeah.
So the moment that she was cheated and she was putting in this situation where she was vulnerable, people started to like sympathize with her again.
Yeah.
And I find that so interesting how it changed and how like she couldn't fucked up like the fact that she didn't pay taxes. I think that was really important for people for some reason. Like without not even, you know, like, I mean, maybe if you're Spanish, you think that that's the money of my country. If that's the case, if that was truly the case. But she was like literally like slammed for not paying taxes for being like that, but then everything changed when she got cheated. So it was very interesting, like how why like women, they cannot fucked up, you know, like
I just think there's just not the same level of, you know, when, and it's sort of like, well, God knows what like Piqué would have been doing behind the scenes. I'm sure I don't know, but maybe if there was a way that he could have got out of paying taxes, he also would have done the same thing. But it's sort of like, you know, not the same.
I just wanted to address this because it bothers me so much when the director of this movie, like going back to the movie, right, to the beginning of it, the fucking director of this movie, like being so condescending about like the Spanish language and Latin American culture.
Of course.
And it's like you don't know us. Like
at all.
You don't, like, you are so like in your own fucking ass that you don't know what's going on around you. And I just wanted to bring this back, for example, to music, because it's something that I love. And I wanted to just bring it up some facts, for example, like of things that are happening in Latin America in the last 2-3 years. I hope this guy listened to this. And it's just like, I felt that's really unfair. Like
it's
we have,
unfair.
for example, we have in music, and which is one of the most global things that we have and powerful industries. And I have some examples of things like people that speak Spanish have done. So, for example, I'm like... For example, Shakira, her latest song, Sessions number 53, the one about Piqué.
The With a Bizarrap.
With a Bizarrap. It's the most streamed track and watch video on YouTube in 2024.
Shut up, Shakira.
It has a record Guinness. A song is only like 100% Spanish, for example.
Epic.
We have Anita. She has also a record Guinness with Envolver that we love.
We love Anita.
That's the first solo artist to reach number 1 on Spotify Global top 200.
Wow.
In a song in Spanish by a woman.
Well done,
Anita. We have like
Benito. Do you have anything?
We have Bad Bunny. He has the number 7 top grossing tour of 2024. Of all the tours in
That's incredible.
in the world, number
That's
7.
incredible.
And he was in the middle.
Wasn't even touring.
He wasn't
really.
touring, and he didn't do that many tours to begin. Or we got Karol G, which her previous tour, it was the biggest European tour of a Latin American artist.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy.
What about Rossi?
I didn't have anything with Rosalia, actually. But for example, we got with Rosalia, like she shaped the culture with Motomami. Like
Definitely.
every single person was changing her style, how to do concerts. They are different nowadays thanks to what she did. It's kind of like you're telling like people that speak. Obviously, Rosalia is Latin American, but she speaks Spanish. Of course. But you're telling me like this is such a like a third world, like weak, like not impactful language, and you wanted to kind of help them with this project. How bad is this?
It makes zero sense as well, because I think as I mentioned before, it's like, especially with Mexico, because
Especially with
Mexico
Mexico.
has such a thriving, like the telenovelas are so huge. Like
And influential.
other Latino actors learn how to speak with a Mexican accent so that they can work
Yeah.
with that accent, because it's such a big industry.
Yeah,
Like it's huge. And I think we had this conversation before of like, you know, you've got Gael Garcia, you've got Isa Gonzalez, you've got Diego, you've got like
so many.
Salma, you've got so many
Salma
Mexican actors. It's such a big industry. I don't understand what was entering his brain. I mean, at least he used Selena Gomez is Mexican
she's
American.
like Mexican American, yeah.
But God knows what was on. And you're right, like it's extremely offensive. And he didn't like he certainly hasn't achieved what he wanted to achieve because it sounded like a super toxic working environment. And I believe that
kind of using the culture as well to his benefit. It's like, I want to do a film in Spanish and Latin American because I know it will do well, but at the same time I'm shading it instead of like uplifting it.
Totally.
You know?
I hate that Edgar was involved with that project.
Yeah, Edgar Ramirez is a Venezuelan actor that we love him. He wasn't really great in the movie, to be honest.
If you were that director and you were a different person, if you were Enzo and you had this and you'd made a film and then you had your lead actress come forward and say all of this stuff. By the way, just a question. Why the fuck did no one from Netflix do a background check on this? Why didn't like,
especially Netflix,
there's a lot of money going into these. I don't know why they didn't like have like a social media assistant like trawling. Anyway, sorry, irrelevant. But
you're right, because she was not that famous before, so maybe she didn't have the training of or being like, oh, maybe someone will read this.
But I just would have thought that Netflix would have been like, right, guys, like we're going to go, because they obviously...
I'm sure they will now.
Yeah, exactly, because they're desperate to win an Oscar, right? I don't think it's going to happen with this film. That would be very strange. It's why did they not like trawl through, even Selena, like, you know, trawl through. Anyway,
I think maybe now
irrelevant.
they kept with the controversy because they're getting more views of the movie. People are watching it more. And I just feel like it's being... Obviously, the controversy, again, is being used in their favor, which is a really all times marketing strategy. You need to do what you need to do to make it work. But I just feel like at the end, like the name of like a trans woman, blah, 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 or a woman, it's being like putting down.
That's a shame.
And the rest is being like, I don't know. I think it's twisted the way.
But what would you have done if you were him? How would you have? And it was true, and you had seen like, okay, wow, she really did tweet all those horrible things. Yeah. What would you do? What would your position be?
Yeah, I think definitely I wouldn't throw her under the bus because that seems to be up to me. I think that was very. I don't know why I found it so shocking. It's like, well, you have the success of this movie thanks to her in part. So. She did something wrong. There's so many things to say that like I met her and I know her and she never showed me that side of herself. I didn't know she could say I mean, obviously she's a director and an actress. They don't know each other. They know each other in a work environment. I didn't know before. I didn't know more than that.
True.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think we need to let her speak.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And let her like explain herself.
Definitely.
And then if you want to judge if she's wrong or right, that's a different story. But I think like someone that it's the core of your project, like throwing that and being, I think it tells about his character and a bit like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, well, sorry, you're involved 100% in this project with every single person, every single decision. So you need to like be a bit immature as well.
Definitely.
You know?
I totally agree. And I love that. I think something else that I would say is I think one thing that we don't do in society enough in general, especially with women, it's like, I'm definitely not saying it's okay what she said.
Yeah.
But people can change, right?
True.
People can, maybe if you have these horrible racist views, like you might not change. I'm not saying that should be like, well, people can change. People can, no, I'm not saying that. But also people can make mistakes and fuck up and like take the Kiara thing, for example. Maybe she really learned from that. Maybe she didn't, but maybe she was like, actually, I'm going to get a new business manager because that person was pants and I'm going to really pay attention to that now because I wasn't. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think we've all, have we not changed since we were like 25? I think it's so unfair. Like that really irks me for some reason of like, we just can't allow people to ever like go through a moment. And kind of going back to our Bad Bunny episode a couple of episodes ago, like Bad Bunny had like a weird dip and maybe he's changed and he's like back, or maybe because people are always growing and changing, and I think that we don't allow that, especially with women. you know?
100%. And I think we're canceling women too easily and too often.
Yeah.
And too... We're not canceling the right people, you know? Like, I think there are people that needs to be canceled because they are really like rapists or they are like women beaters.
Definitely.
Like Chris Brown, hello. He has never
For
been canceled from the
example.
industry. He recently have a #1 single in the Airbnb charts and whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
how this guy is still being played on radio? And how
I
people
know.
are still collaborating with him? I know, what's the best way to go on this? Like, as a society maybe, or as like members of society, like... Do you think it's something that we can do in the place that we are to change this? Even if it's like with our friends, in our work spaces, with family, like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe toxic behaviors that we have
That's a
towards
good
women
question.
and like not allowing women to apologize or to make errors.
I feel like one thing that we can all do is like, because we're all consuming something, right? So we're all consuming like social media, raw media. And I think it's really easy to kind of get on that bandwagon and be like, yeah, like, of course she said these things, like, of course, like she should be cancelled. I think maybe we could all do with a little bit of like stopping and like, do I really know enough to kind of cast my judgment on that as well? Like, I think it's about that kind of like maybe not having that sheep mentality and just being like, it's the same when
Sheep
things
mentality.
you know, like, oh, that's like a terrible film or like,
And
oh, it's
everyone
so
jumps
shit.
on the...
like, for example, like Gladiator 2, you know, that was that kind of perfect example of like that sheep mentality of like everyone, and before you knew it, like everyone was like, oh, I've heard it's really shit, but it's like, but have you seen it?
You start like that your brain is already conditioned to think like it's shit without even watching
exactly. And
it.
I actually watched it with my boyfriend,
And
and
it
it's
wasn't
not
that
that bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not that bad. Anyway, irrelevant.
But it's
I
a
think that's
good
one
point.
thing. I also feel like as women, we can definitely like stand up for ourselves like a little bit more. I think that obviously you need to keep in mind that there can be like consequences of that, and I think that this is a gift of like, I'm curious to see how I am at like 44.
Yeah.
But at like 34, I already feel way more like, actually, fuck off. Like, don't talk to me like that. Or like,
I
I
agree.
can tell you're treating somebody differently and you're talking to me like that because I'm a woman and I'm a lot less afraid. I definitely didn't used to be that like that in my 20s.
Yeah.
But I do think that we can kind of say like,
Speak up.
actually, yeah, like I don't like being spoken to like
Yeah.
that. It's actually my dream. I really want to say this one day, which is like, don't talk to me like that.
Love that. You should do it. I would totally
Shall
support
I?
it. And I think you will scare a lot of men because a lot of men, they cannot handle that. They don't know what to react because they're just used to like think that they're always right. But when someone comes to be like, nope, that's crazy.
Don't talk to me like
Yeah.
that.
No, I think it's a really good point.
What
Love.
about you? What do you think we can do a little bit
I
differently?
think definitely like... I think we're in a shift. I think the last few years has been a shift of mentality on many things. And I think like spaces like TikTok or social media has helped conversations to be like brought up to the surface. Like we talk more about things that maybe we didn't a few years ago.
Okay.
And I think like one thing I will say, like, I feel like maybe when you are with your families or your friends, sometimes we have a lot of language of things we say about women and how women are, how women react. Things like we mentioned before, like, oh my God, that women is with so many men. That's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Little things like that we think that can be funny, but sometimes we need to double think about those things. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're acting so weird. You must be in your period.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
like
True,
you are
true,
not in the
true.
place. I mean, unless you have a real lot of confidence, real lot of connection with the person
Yeah.
person's allowing you to say something
Yeah.
like that. But that's something that is still here to this day. It's like, oh, well, women being crazy because of hormones. Like, you know, all these, like, I think they're like aggressive little messages
Interesting.
around that we have
Like a
ingrained, like a
microaggression.
microaggression,
Yeah.
like daily.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how harmful they are when you put it all together. And that's why I think we don't allow women to just be, and we just need to hold them to this. I think more about the language that we use
That's
and how
very
we
cool.
like things that we just used to say that
Yeah.
they're not right. And most of those things I feel like come from our families, or
Definitely.
our families are from obviously our older generation when
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was allowed.
True,
We're
true,
in a new
true.
generation, so I think it's our duty to revisit everything
Can
we
I give
say.
a tip as well?
A tip. We love a tip.
Something that really bothers me. I know it's not quite linked to the topic, but it's kind of about that, talking about
Yeah.
like women and like speaking up for ourselves and women on women, is you don't have to find everybody pretty. Like you don't necessarily find everybody handsome or pretty as well. But sometimes I find that in some cases other women are really afraid, or not afraid, or they won't, or it's insecurity or jealousy, they won't give other women compliments. I would like to say, tell me if I'm wrong, that I always say like, oh, she's so pretty, like, you know, she dresses really well, all of these things, because I think that that's something that we're conditioned with, again, is to see other women as your competitor. They're not. Like, you can be a beautiful woman and somebody else who looks completely different to you or looks the same as you can also be a beautiful woman, and that's okay. I think it really bothers me when people can't just say, yeah, she's like really beautiful. You know?
I know what you mean.
Like, and I don't find that. I think men or straight men have a different thing, because maybe they're like, oh, if I say he's handsome, maybe it's like gay, but I think, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like gay men don't have that as much.
I think between a straight men, there's more about like admiration, which is funny. There's a thing that they always say, like, sometimes seems that some straight men, they actually hate women, but they really love men. And like, when it's like a football player, it's like, ooh, when it's like someone that is so obvious, I understand it, because they are like looking, like it's someone to look up for, like, you know, oh, my inspiration. But it's so easy sometimes to kind of like give admiration or compliment because they're strong or they're successful or something like that, when it's not the same for women.
It's not,
and
it's like,
it
doesn't like cost you anything to say a woman is beautiful. Like, no one is going to think that
or
you're
talent.
Or
intelligent,
exactly,
or smart,
totally.
or like,
or I love her editing, or like I love her social media, it's so creative, or something like that. It's like, it's sometimes it feels, and I'll be honest, like, I know that this can sound quite toxic, but this is why sometimes I don't have many female friends. I have a few really good female friends, but I do struggle with that element of it. It's like it's not gonna hurt you if you say that, like, that girl's really pretty or intelligent or whatever. And I think that's something that we all really need to work on.
Let's see. But thank you very much, Claire, for like talking with me. And I hope like anyone watching this or hearing this,
drop your thoughts. Seems quite
can take some
quite controversial. I feel controversial.
Thank you very much, familia.
See you next week, guys. Bye.